On this episode, we get schnockered and kiss all the green parts. Save every universe.
Save every universe.
Universe. Still got it. Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am taking apart the Santa Blanca cartel one buchon at a time.
Nice. My name is Robbie. I'm a dwarf who's at my best when telling a story, and perhaps at my second best when making Bianca sing.
So I'm very curious to know what you were last week, because yours was really well written, and I have no idea what it is.
It was well written because I didn't write it.
Oh, okay.
So I was Pikachu.
Oh.
But the reason I read it that way and said that line, it's word for word from the Pokédex.
Oh, okay.
From the
about
new
the
Ultra Sun.
Forest and the...
Yeah. So I was
really
trying
cool.
to read it like robotic, sound like a Pokédex.
That was good.
A little
I like
bit.
that. Yeah. I'm not enough of a fan to
Pokemon fan.
Pokemon fan to have known.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah.
Pokemon is plural.
And last week, and I bet you that if you could guess this without being helped and without looking it up, that I would buy Monster Hunter World. Sadly, you did not.
I did not. I even thought about it all week, but I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, the character is Jacob from the Rusty Lake Paradise game, which is the new premium, like $3 version that's on the iPhone. It's the Rusty Lake is the name of the studio, but it's also the name of the series, and it's a mobile series that I really dig, and a lot of it is like escape the room kind of thing. You can start in a single location, and then some people will like have some cryptic words that give you a hint, but you have to like grab objects and then figure out where to use those objects, and it's a puzzle game, which you voiced on our last episode. You were not quite very fond of, but they do a really cool job with the art style, and it's very like violent. Like they have one where you have all these guests, like it's a boar and a pigeon lady and stuff, and as the night goes on, so the one I referenced was 10 Plagues, and then this one is multiple nights in a hotel, and each night you go and kill the guest and take their meat and serve it to the other guests and stuff. It's super dark, but it's very much my speed. It's really cool. So if you're looking for something like a good little puzzle solver that it's casual, but I think it's good. I think it's really good. Check out the Rusty Lake series. There's a bunch of free ones you can go try. And to me, the premium versions are worth it as well.
I would have never, ever guessed that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I made that bet.
Because we got a Switch recently. I played Snipper Clippers with my wife.
It's fun, right?
I mean, it's a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's a good cooperative thing. It's when you play with your spouse, though, I found, and it was one of the few games that my wife would play with me, you got to take it in chunks.
Yeah.
It's really fun for like 3 to 5 puzzles, and then you kind of have to walk away.
Yeah, that's what we
break.
did. We did one session of that.
But it's really fun.
And it was all right. We had laughs. I don't know why. Yeah, I just don't like puzzle games that much. It wasn't her fault. She even did great. It was more just me being...
I wonder how we would play Snipper Clippers together. That would probably go very badly. We were just playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, and it was like flying on the helicopter, crash, jump out, run each other over with cars. We would probably not play Snipper Clippers.
I bet we'd be all right. We've actually never... I don't think we've ever co-opted a puzzle game, have we?
Yeah, I don't think we ever have.
We've done really good at like tactical games and like all the Splinter Cell games.
Yeah.
And we've done really good at co-op.
We've talked about we have a YouTube channel where we just repost these. We've talked about turning that into a channel called Save Every Universe Together, where we would play only co-op games and turn it into a gaming YouTube channel that's themed around co-op games. So if that's something you're interested in, let us know, saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com. Today, we're talking about none of those things we've been talking about. As we're recording this, it's the Wednesday before St. Patrick's Day, so happy St. Patrick's Day. I know we have some Irish listeners, and I'm sure American St. Patty's Day is an awful bastardization.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Made it awful. I mean, I don't even know if they really celebrate it. I mean,
we'll have to look into that.
What is it, St. Patrick's?
We are very culturally insensitive, so if you're listening to this from Ireland, please send us an email, saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com. Yeah,
Not insensitive. Maybe a little insensitive.
Is there a difference there?
If you know the difference between ignorant and insensitive, you can email us about that.
But today we just wanted to talk about do something just kind of fun and a little bit different. We have some really cool, bigger concept kind of episodes planned for the next few weeks, and we wanted to just sort of take a break and do something kind of cheeky. And so we're going to be talking about booze and bars and alcohol in video games. Yeah.
I thought I would talk about some of like my favorite mechanics or times I've like run into it that were memorable for me in gaming, and then maybe finish up with some of my favorite watering holes.
Yeah, because there are some good like classic bar.
Yeah,
areas,
some
right?
games do it really well.
Yeah,
sometimes it's just like a backdrop, and sometimes it's a place you actually go and interact
So as far
with.
as alcohol being a like mechanic in the game, is there a time that you can think of that it was ever used really meaningfully, or is it always a gimmick? Because sometimes in like GTA there was moments where you could drink and you get all wobbly or whatever, but it doesn't really. It's a funny side thing in part of the sandbox world, but it's not really a meaningful part of the game.
Right. I think I think you had to distinguish that. Like, I think there are times when it's a mechanic and it's funny and it can even be well done, but it's just like a funny mechanic.
Yeah.
I wrote down some games.
Fallout, did they do that
you
too?
could get drunk in Fallout.
Yeah.
I think you
and BioShock did that a little bit too. They had the Arcadia Merlot, and they had the fighting McDonough's or something like that. There's like a really cool bar in BioShock. But they had the same thing where it's like it would recover a little bit of health, but you were like all wobbly and tipsy and blurry after.
Yeah, I think the way it worked in the Bethesda games. So if you remember, because you played Fallout, right?
I played 3 and 4. Yeah.
So I think Skyrim did this, and I think the Fallout games did this, where it actually would sometimes even have like stat benefits, just like using the drugs or whatever.
Right.
And then it would have negative. I think you could get hooked on it. I think it was like negative effects to it too, which is kind of interesting. I know in GTA you could just get drunk, right? That's all it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually have a graphic pulled up of I think it's Pisswasser pills. It says you're in for a good time, and apparently there's all kinds of lore built into the game where, from what I understand, they're actually directly poking fun at Budweiser. And it's like for export only. It's like, or it says it's a German beer specifically for export only. Like, we don't want to drink it here, but we'll sell it to the Americans.
I think I remember seeing some of those actually. Those ads. They did that with like all kinds of stuff, like Paunchburger. It wasn't Paunchburger. Is that Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
But they had some type like Chubby Chicken or something. Like, they had all kinds of stuff like that. I know you could get drunk in. I remember Fable. You could get drunk.
Oh, that's right. That? Yeah.
I don't think it had much.
Man, Fable is like a really we've like referenced that a couple of times, and it's a really underrated. We're like, oh, remember that in Fable? Like, they did that, and so I hope there's whispers that they're actually coming out with another one, and I hope that's true, and I hope it's good.
I mean, I know Microsoft.
It's nothing solidified. Hasn't been a trailer or anything like that, but I've heard whispers of a Fable 4, right? They did 3?
Yeah.
Of a Fable 4 or a reboot of Fable or something like that coming.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of good foundation there. So, I mean, I also remember, I've only played The Witcher 1. You can get drunk in that. Yeah. I assume you can in The Witcher 2 and 3. In fact, from what I've seen, like just of gameplay footage and stuff, like inns are a huge deal in The Witcher games, but I unfortunately can't speak too much to that. I know you play Gwent, right? In inns, that card game. There's like a special card game.
In The Witcher?
It's even its own side game now.
Yeah.
I know the inns are a big deal for that, but as far as just drinking in an inn, I think you can get drunk in The Witcher.
I think you can too. There was a specific, I can't remember the name of it. I thought I had it in my notes, but I don't. But from The Witcher 3, there was like best specific alcohol drinks in video games or whatever. And whatever was in The Witcher 3 made that list, like along with the Chateau Romani from Zelda. I think it was from Majora's Mask. The milk bar in East Clocktown.
Oh yeah, the milk bar. Yeah, I remember that.
And apparently it was like 200 rupees. It was like really expensive, and you had to have the adult wallet to buy it and that kind of stuff. And that's right. Yeah, so that was another one.
So one of my favorite drinking, as just not as storytelling, but just getting drunk in a game, favorite mechanics was actually WoW. Because you could get drunk. You could there's even a wine of the month club. You get like a wine bottle every
in WoW.
In WoW,
that's cool.
Yeah, there was all kind, and they had like all this lore written in of different flavors and different wines and different pairings. Yeah. Like it's deep. But as you got drunk in the game, your vision blurred. You stumbled down the street. I think you even threw up. But your typing actually became slurred. So like as you wrote messages, it would like throw in SHs and
That's
stuff.
Pretty cool.
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was fun to do. I had like a pony keg that I would drop before every major encounter.
Yeah.
And just try and get everybody drunk, like their characters. Yeah. Completely wasted and see how the encounter went. Yeah. So I thought it was funny. And people would be like, please don't put that down. Like, we got to do it. I have more to say about that, but we'll come back to it. But as far as just getting drunk in the game, I thought WoW did it actually surprisingly well. And it was super entertaining to yell drunken things on the streets of Orgrimmar.
That's awesome.
You guys don't know me. Hey, you. Like, I don't know why, but it was a total blast.
So you would shout those things over chat, and then it would slur it out for you and stuff?
You would just type normal, and then it would automatically slur your words.
That's pretty awesome.
It wouldn't do it like in guild chat or anything like that. It was only if you were saying it out loud, your character would slur his words.
That's pretty funny.
It was pretty great. So let's talk about it more as like a storytelling.
Sure. One specific example for me, like the one that jumped out to me immediately, is there's a mission in Assassin's Creed Origins, just because that's what I've been playing recently, where you meet your old buddy who's like from the old country, and you get drunk together, and then you end up fighting each other. It's kind of a cool mission. It's not a major plot thing.
Yeah.
But then it got me thinking, in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the pirate one, there has to be a big drunken scene, right? And there's a thing where I can't remember exactly what happens, but you go to a bar and you get super shit-faced, and then they use it actually, your character like stumbles out out, passes out, and then you sort of like wake up in a dream sequence kind of, and they use it actually as a story device to tell the backstory of before he left, and his wife is like, why can't you stop wandering? And you said this was only going to be 2 years, and he's
really
out browsing on the sea and stuff. And yeah, and they actually use it as a cool flashback / hallucination storytelling device, which I thought was pretty cool. Black Flag, it's a little bit of a weird one. That's a conversation for a different time, but it was a really good game. It was among the best Assassin's Creed games, I think.
From what I played, it was a lot of fun to play.
It was fun, if nothing else.
The shanties in that game,
oh dude,
so awesome.
They got the ship combat just so right. It was like boarding a ship and jumping off a thing and assassinating someone and then going into a sword fight. Like they really got that whole pirate sea combat thing right.
Yeah, I would actually sing the Whiskey Johnny shanty when I was bartending and cleaning up at the end of the night. I would be like singing it to myself while I was mopping the floors.
Give us a little taste.
No, I'm not gonna do that right now. So in Final Fantasy XIV, they do a scene where they like poison your drink, and then the patrons, like one assassin does it to you to neutralize you, and the patrons just think you're drunk, so no one like raises the alarm.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we better get this guy out. You know, but it's like your waitress is actually the one who poisoned you.
Okay.
It was a little frustrating because they had to like take your hero out of play so that the next plot thing could go forward.
It is a little bit weird because it almost sometimes it almost feels a little bit like cheating, sort of like they're knocking you out of play, or it just feels like not why you're playing the game in the first place. Where because you kind of go to play a game to feel like you're getting more powerful and getting stronger in that world, and and then you could just get totally neutralized for something that you have no control over. Really,
it was a little frustrating, but I also think like it kind of made sense. I was a little flattered because I think that was a better option than just my guy standing there with his mouth on the ground being like, whoa, what's happening?
Right.
Like, I mean, at least they thought to neutralize me. You know what I mean?
Right.
My character was at least important enough for that. Ultimately, I was okay with it, but 14 has like also poisoned other people through drinks throughout the storyline. Yeah. So I'm getting to the point in that game where anytime I see a cup of wine poured, I'm like, don't drink it. I was even at a scene where you're dining with like a friend and it's supposed to be this nice moment. And I was on edge the whole time. Yeah. Like if they give me an option, I'm slapping the wine away. They're going to poison me. And nothing bad ever happened. Yeah. It was just like a friendly scene with the character.
Because it was like an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it was just such an ongoing thing. I was like, don't touch the wine. They're going to poison us. So I think in that case, it's maybe been used a lot.
Right.
You know? I know that as far as just storytelling goes, it can be, Mass Effect has done it.
Yeah, I saw that on a couple lists. They like the best bars in video games and stuff like that. There was one from Mass Effect 2 and there was one from Mass Effect 3. I didn't play them. So they meant nothing to me, but
they do it in 2, 3, and Andromeda, actually.
Yeah.
I did finish it. But there's like an important drinking in the bar scene. Mm-hmm. Honestly, and I love the Mass Effect games. I didn't love the bars.
Yeah.
Because they were very like techno, discotheca.
Yeah. I saw pictures. That's what they
neon lights, raving music. And I don't go to those places in real life. Mm-hmm. I prefer like a quiet, old school kind of bar.
Yeah. But people do draw a lot of parallels between Westerns and sci-fi films. And so it makes sense for bars to be in place in a game like Mass Effect because you look at a game like Red Dead Redemption and saloons, like when you have sort of that Wild West frontier, sci-fi and Western share that, you sort of have to have a central place where people gather and share information and blow off steam and stuff like that. Like the saloon and the bar in a sci-fi are sort of like, you look at the bars in like Blade Runner and it's sort of a similar deal. There has to be a central place where the riffraff gets together and swaps stories and that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's super important in those. It's even important in like a fantasy setting. Like,
taverns and stuff like that is like it's a classic
and inns,
deal.
But their bars or whatever are all throughout in the Dragon Age games. Yeah, they're huge. They're a very big deal. You get new quests there. Sometimes it's where you like any BioWare game. If you're trying to flesh out your companions and get their side quests, you're like always meeting them at a freaking bar or whatever. Inquisition, I really liked because it had a bard, and she would whoever the voice actress is. I didn't look it up for this. I've looked it up in the past. Yeah, she's really talented, and they brought her back for the DLC.
Oh, nice.
And she has a great voice, and she would sing stories about the characters like a real bard would. And so you would like sit down and have a drink, catch up with Iron Bowl or whatever. Right. But she would be singing in the background the whole time. Cool. And it was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it as a setting. And I think that might be a throwback too, besides just real life. I know D&D uses taverns a lot in their gaming. Tolkien used it in The Hobbit. There was
that's true, huh?
The Inn of the Prancing Pony is its own chapter and a big deal. And so that's in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, at the very beginning where he slips on the ring for the first time and like falls
in the
off
movie
the
it's the
table
very
and all
beginning.
that stuff. And
in the book, it's like
it's a ways in.
It's
I'm reading them for the first time right now though. So
are you?
Yeah,
you
I
think
know.
You get through them? I feel like
if
you've
you
tried
could see
before, haven't you?
Robbie's face right now, the disbelief.
No way, dude.
I am.
Are you really?
Yeah.
How did...
Moving on.
Really?
Yeah, I got to where they get to the elf town, Elrond, and all that stuff.
You got all the way to Rivendell?
Yeah, and he woke up and Gandalf's there and is explaining that he didn't realize how much danger he was in.
Haven't you tried reading these before and you've dropped them?
Yeah. I'm actually reading it now.
I can't believe it.
I know. Elon Musk told me to. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. One of my favorite moments, one of my first experiences too with bars and video games. I guess Zelda had it some, but
Zelda had a little bit of it.
It's more like an inn.
Yeah.
It's less like a tavern. Mm-hmm. In Chrono Trigger, there are bars all throughout time.
Okay.
And there can be a lot of parallels between the bars, including like patrons. It seems like their relatives frequent there.
Yeah.
But there's a major side mission with a character named Toma, and he's like this adventurer, and every time you see him, he tries to get you to buy him a drink. And at one point, he goes on this adventure and dies.
Oh.
And you have to take his beer and go pour it on his grave in the future.
That's cool.
And then his ghost comes and is like, I found it, but I died, and then shows you where it's at. It's also kind of funny because in that quest on the original Super Nintendo version, it's a pop.
Yeah.
It's a soda.
It's funny that you say that because Earthbound had a thing where it was like Jackie's bar in the Japanese version, and like they went and like the kids were drinking booze and stuff apparently, and when they released it in North America, they changed it to Jackie's Cafe, and they were drinking soda or whatever. So there was a lot of that censorship that crossed over. Yeah.
I didn't realize. I never thought about that. Because I never play. I did play the American version.
Yeah, but apparently that was originally Jackie's bar, and it was beer or whatever. Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I mean, as these things are getting re-released, that's not always true.
Yeah,
like I think the Chrono Trigger release on the DS and on the PlayStation, they updated it. They got over it, I guess. I would be curious what the Earthbound is on the SNES Classic. If it's the Japanese bar, or if it's still the cafe.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't know. But a lot of that censorship did happen, and even to this day, that conversation still goes on about whether alcohol should be in games and that kind of thing, and does it influence teenagers to consume alcohol and those kinds of things. So it's still a concern.
When I was researching this episode, I saw a lot of articles about that.
It was hard to find anything not that. Like you had to like find the magic phrase in Google to like get it to pull up the stuff about alcohol in gaming. Because it was like, if you're addicted to games, you're probably an alcoholic and a drug addict too. And it's like, ugh. Okay.
Either found that or drinking games to play while you're gaming.
Oh, lots of that. And that's a whole nother topic. Because what was funny is that most of it was Nintendo games. People get shit-faced playing Mario Kart, Mario Party, and old school Mario. 50% maybe more was all Nintendo games used for drinking games.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
I
don't know what that is.
I think if I would have realized that would have been our episode topic.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it until I was like preparing. So we should come back maybe next St. Patty's Day.
Some of them were pretty funny, and people had like creative shots of, like I said, I'm not enough of a Pokemon enthusiast, but Pikachu, Raichu, and there's another
Pichu, the baby one.
Pichu, yeah. So they had shots of like graduating size with like it was like layered with the colors and stuff like that. It was pretty creative. Yeah, like there was a ton of things of not just drinking games, but video game themed cocktails. Drinks. Yeah, so they had like the Kratos, where it was like I think it was like a bunch of Kahlua in a martini glass. So it was like that creamy white color, like his skin. And then it had like a red streak down the side of the glass.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
That makes me think about. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that. I bet I could come up with some drinks.
Yeah, we should have done that for this. We'll have to settle for some Manhattans.
We'll just have to, for Manhattans. I think it's interesting too that gaming will use bars to like convey a message. Like just the messages that are conveyed. Like as we were thinking about this episode, I thought about like in Destiny 2, Cade is drinking at a bar when he's telling his story in that ad.
Yeah.
There's never a bar
in the game.
Maybe there is like on the side. You can't access it. I guess there's
and
that
it's
dance
not a
party
main
place
central thing.
No.
Yeah, but that's how they promoted it. Was like they gave it a Wild West feel. He's a hunter with like a 6-shooter gunslinger kind of fast talking. Like they put him in a saloon basically.
And I love that ad.
Yeah,
I was so jazzed by it. But there's and it's not like Destiny 2 put a bar where you could go have a drink.
Yeah.
That would
actually be pretty cool.
Rest your spurs or whatever. No, nothing like that.
That's where instead of a library, that's where they should have put the grimoire stuff. There should have been like a old school like dark wood bar that you could go into with a futuristic twist or whatever. But like there would have been like books or like server things like in the side that looked like books or something like that. You could access all the grimoire stuff to tie into that thing with Cade where he's like, Saloony.
So Bungie, I know everyone's telling you what to do right now, but that one's free. You don't have to pay us.
They're not listening to anyone, so it doesn't matter.
So what do you think about using booze to like just get information from people, interrogating people, or just listening in a bar? It seems like a lot of games like to use that as a mechanic of loosening lips, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
I mean, movies do it and stuff.
Yeah,
too.
they do, and I think you can overdo it, and I think it can be sort of like an easy way out of revealing secrets or getting incapacitating the hero temporarily and those kinds of things. I don't know. I think it can be overused, but I think used well, I don't know. I don't mind it.
Do you think booze is really that much of a truth serum? Because I think when you go,
I think you have to drink quite a bit before it gets there. Like you have one drink and you whatever. You got to get to like the 3-4 plus range before you really start to get.
But do you think it's reliable what people say? Like at that point,
I've said some like stuff
people
that
say
like
some stupid shit when they're
like,
that drunk, right? I mean, I hope isn't true. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of it, right? You don't have the inhibitions anymore, but
I think you get like a raw, like unfiltered fire hose thing. So where it's like it maybe was an idea that they thought about saying. That maybe was kind of true, but they didn't mean to say it. They did, but then that gets mixed with all these emotions they didn't mean to let out, and then like it just turns into this bullshit fire hose that's confusing. So I think at best there's a grain of truth, but it's so mixed up with so many other things that you can't really take it.
I think that's my
you
major
can't take
beef
it
with it.
at face value.
That's my major beef because you'll be like,
like they get drunk and they're like, oh, and the missiles are located at 387 West.
Got it.
Yeah,
marked 100%. Very like no need to verify. Yeah. All hands on deck. That just seems a little outrageous to me.
I would agree with that.
You know what I mean? Because you've said some shit when you were drunk that I wouldn't have trusted like that.
Yeah, exactly. See?
I don't know. I don't tend to get that drunk, so I guess I don't know.
I've only been that drunk maybe 3 times in my whole life.
But what did you say anything reliable?
I don't think so. Not that I can remember.
Good enough for me. So what are some of your favorite bars? Do you have favorite bars?
I actually had a hard time with that. Like the stuff from BioShock really stood out to me. Like you'd go in and they had like the specific Merlot that was like always laying around and that kind of stuff. And I just like that 1920s, 1930s noir-ish, like the Art Deco. I like that style. So that was the one that stood out to me. The saloons from Red Dead Redemption stood out immediately because I love that Western style. So one of my favorites of all time, though, and if you've been a long-time listener, you will have heard about this game, Woodruff and the Schnibble. I freaking love that game. It's just it's one of those, it has such a soft spot in my heart. It was like one of the first games like I really fell in love with back in the day, point and click adventure on PC. But one of the first main where you get the first tidbits of information about who your father was is in like this wino bar that you have to get the wino to move out of the way of the door, and then you go in and the salty old bartender woman kind of gives you some information about who your dad was and that kind of stuff. That's one of my favorites of all time.
Really?
Yeah, and then there's the saxophone and the guy pops out of it. He pops out everywhere, of the most inappropriate places, and he's like a tax collector.
Oh yeah.
He's like, have you heard about taxes and have you filed yet?
Dude, that's such a weird game.
It's an awesome game, man, but that's one of my favorite bars. What about you?
Yeah, I got a handful. So one of the most unique ones to me is actually from World of Warcraft again. There's a bar called the Grim Guzzler, and it's in a raid. And back in the day, it was like in this 40-man raid, I think. I think it was a 40-man. I didn't play vanilla. I started playing after that. But so it's down in this raid that's got a lock on it. You have to it's hard to get into, and you can get in there, and if you can get in a fight with all of the patrons.
Nice.
They've continued to put stuff down there. They put like Oktoberfest events down in this bar, and you have to fight special alcohol-themed bosses. There's a rock and roll band in Warcraft. They go hang out there. You can randomly
just go playing there and stuff, or they're just hanging out?
They're just chilling. That's where they go.
Nice.
I think they do play there too.
That's funny.
Kind of hard. It's way off the beaten path. Hard to get to.
Yeah.
Super eclectic, and they've put all this like time and detail. You can get special booze there. Yeah. There's like a beer that you can only get there in this tavern.
That's awesome.
So I
didn't realize it was like such a big deal in WoW, like wine of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like
alcohol's a big deal in WoW.
Yeah.
If you want it to be.
I think it is a big deal in fantasy in general, though. Like you were saying earlier.
I also liked that. I feel like the HQ Casino in Fallout New Vegas, I think, has a bar in it. On one of the
that made a couple top bars list.
Yeah, it's really slick. I really like
one of the ones that I had forgotten about. We've been talking about Final Fantasy VII for whatever reason. It keeps coming up. But Tifa Seventh Heaven.
Yeah,
Tifa's bar. Like I had totally forgotten about that, and it's like the HQ, like the under the floorboards is the HQ for the Resistance and stuff like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, that made my list too, actually, because what a cool idea to make like the whole. Though part of me is like, wouldn't the first place you'd look would be a bar?
Right.
for a bunch of underground resistance fighters.
Yeah.
But there's something about that aesthetic that's
well,
super cool.
You had the relationship with Tifa and Barrett and Marlene and the whole thing. There was a bunch of stuff that went with it story-wise that made it really cool.
And I think Barrett opens up the
pinball.
Underground. Yeah, he hits it, but almost like Fonzie style. Like he goes up and hits it like it's a jukebox, and then it opens up the secret base.
That was cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I really hope they don't screw that up with the remake. They have to. There was so much magic to that game, dude. I don't know how they're going to remake that and maintain all that. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, we'll come back to that because I think it depends.
Yeah,
that's my answer to that. It'll depend.
Maybe we'll do a whole episode on that one right before it comes out.
We should, yeah. There's still
because it's such a legacy game.
It is.
That would warrant its own episode. I think
we could. Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll brainstorm offline.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to listen to that. The Hanged Man is the other one that made my list, and that's from Dragon Age 2. That's where it's like that super divey, seedy bar that Varric's always at. Yeah, it's called the Hanged Man. There's literally a dude hanging outside. It's like a statue, but whatever. It's like this super seedy. Cutthroats are always there.
It's a good idea for a bar.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a huge cornerstone of that game. Like you're there more than you're at your like HQ, it seems like.
Yeah.
Varric's always there, and then I think Isabella, a bunch of the main characters are there. You go there for information. I think fights break out a couple times throughout the game.
I really, like we were talking about it a second ago, like I really think there is something story-wise, or not even just story-wise, but community-wise, of people wanting a central place to go and see other people and share stories and
where everybody knows your name.
Where everybody knows your name. Cheers. Moving on. The last one I do want to mention is Uncharted 3. Even though that was not, I think that game had some problems. It was probably my least favorite in the whole series. The opening scene though, where you and Sully are just like fisticuffs bar, you're like in your suit and tie with the throwing down and tables are going up and face down the side of the bar with the glasses smashing and stuff. That was a really
fantastic,
cool bar scene.
I love that opening actually.
It was really
I didn't even write it down because I was almost sure you were going to bring it up.
Had to bring it up.
It was a great scene. It was like classic bar fight. Yeah. I loved that the guy was in on it.
Yeah.
Even the whole time, I was like, this is fantastic. Yeah. Like from the intro, it was a very strong opening, I thought. Yeah. And that bar was
through
really
the
cool.
windows and stuff and into the kitchen, and it was a good bar brawl.
It was. Yeah, that one's definitely worth mentioning.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us out quite a bit.
And if you have any questions or want to reach out to us and let us know what your favorite watering holes are in video games, you can reach us at saveeveryuniverse@gmail.com.
Some friends and I at a public house
playing a game of chance one night. Went into the pub, the fireman came, his face all chalky white. "What's up?" says Brown. "Have you seen a ghost? Have you seen your Aunt Mariah?" "Me and Mariah be buggered," says he, "the bleeding pub's on fire." And there was Brown, he was upside down, he was lapping up the whiskey on the floor. And booze, booze, the fireman cried as they came in knocking at the door. "Well, don't let him in till it's all drunk up," somebody shouted, "McIntyre! And we all got blue, blind, paralytic, drunk when the old Dun cow caught fire.
Still got it.
Still got it.